This is First Updates Now Spotlight, Episode 7, recorded on June 21st, 2016. Spotlight is brought to you by AnyMark. With great service and many items assembled in the USA, trust that AnyMark will be here for you and your robotics team needs. Check them out at anymark.com today. And by Audible. Get the new Cool or another audiobook for free with Audible's 30-day free trial at firstupdatesnow.com/audible.
Hi guys, this is Mike from the FRC Top 25 and First Updates Now. We're here in the pit of 5172, the Gators. They finished 14th on the final Top 25 of the year. We're here with Martin, Emily, and Joseph. So congrats guys on a great season so far, one regional win. Can you maybe just start off, tell us a little bit about your team, and then we're going to dive into the robot.
All right. Well, we are from a very rural area. We're a combined school, a town of 700 people and a town of 300 people. Our entire high school student body is 144 people, and 44 of them are active with the team, which equals out to about a 31% of our school being active. Our motto this year has been, look where small can take us. It's really been a Cinderella story of a year, so we're very happy to be where we are.
That's great. I mean, you guys have really made a huge impact on First this year. You guys have turned a lot of heads with what you've been able to accomplish and with what your robot's been able to do. So speaking of which, just kind of dive in maybe a little bit. Would you like to share a little bit about it?
So our main focus this year was definitely the high goal shot. That was our priority. We crossed both B and D category defenses, so the moat, ramparts, rough terrain, rock wall, and we also do the cheval de free. But we've been focusing mostly on shooting high goals and trying to score even up to 10 high goals in a match. And so it's been working out really successfully for us, and we have, I would say, one of the most consistent shooters in all of First Robotics this year. So,
Which there's something you'd like to add?
Pretty much just how robustly built our robot is. We put a lot of time and effort and a lot of prototyping into our robot to make sure that it would stay together. And we had a lot of great ideas this year, and I'm glad the build team that we had worked together so well. We didn't have any arguing, and we worked together, and, well, this turned out. And I'm really glad that it turned out the way it did, because it looks amazing, it performs amazing, and I couldn't be happier.
Very cool. So, Martin, what was maybe the hardest part about this season, robot-wise? What was the hardest design challenge this year?
This is a game that really you can't do it all yourself. We needed to figure out what we wanted to do, so that was the first goal we set. We knew we wanted to be tough, we didn't want to be pushed around, and we knew we wanted to shoot high goal. So really focusing on that, but at the same time still trying to cross some defenses on our own and just have kind of an all-around robot, but really focus in on that high goal shooter and trying to stay within the weight limits.
Awesome, guys. Well, thanks for taking time to speak with us. I know you have a huge match coming up, so we'll let you get ready for that. But thanks and good luck the rest of the weekend.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
it's great to meet you.
Yeah, you too.
Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome to Spotlight, where we interview interesting people and teams from the First community, so you can be, well, somebody who just enjoys First just that little bit more. I'm Tyler Olds, and of course, joining me, playing the role as the amazing co-host of Spotlight tonight, it's Collin Fultz. Collin, what's going on today, my man? You are muted, sir.
Sorry.
Good start.
We're in peak form here. Before I was saying, before we start up on First Updates Now here, we want to give a shout out to all of our fans from Northeast Ohio, where nothing is given, everything is earned, and you have to work for what you have. Congratulations on that championship by the Cavaliers. Amazing series, and really excited for everybody from Cleveland breaking that 52-year curse.
And that puts that puts Milwaukee as now the third at least winning city, so we're bumping on down, but at least we got Green Bay. So, Collin, what do we have going on the show today on Spotlight?
Tyler, so excited about our guest today. We're going to talk about the 2016 FRC season, Stronghold. We're going to talk about what's coming up in 2017. And so we figured who better to talk to about this than the man that makes every decision along the way when it comes to the FRC season. Director, good guy, Frank Merrick. Nice. Frank, welcome back to the show.
Thanks so much. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, every single decision, right, Frank?
I make every single decision.
Excellent. Also, as part of today's show,
That
we're
would
going
be a
to
wonderful world, wouldn't it? For me.
right. We're going to be asking you, the audience, to call in to pitch Frank your ideas for an FRC game. Where last caller standing will receive a prize. Frank has a couple announcements to make at the end as well, so make sure you check that out. But we do want to keep a really good portion of the show to the questions that you, the chat world, submitted for Frank today. So you guys ready? Let's just roll right into this. Guys, good to go?
Let's
I'm
do it.
ready.
Let's do it. All right. Well, Frank, before we get to a question first, let's ask you really, what's your opinion on the how you felt the 2016 game Stronghold win overall, and what are your feelings about the 2016 season overall, both from FRC and for First?
My sense is it went pretty well. The feedback that we got from teams, from sponsors, really just from spectators, very positive about the game. We tried some new things, tried a field that could change every single match. We didn't know how well that was going to work. Of course, we did timing studies and all that to make sure it could be done. But to see that field completely change over with, at the end of the season anyway, hitting those 7-minute turns, I think that worked really well. I think we especially showed that you could have a good theme and a good game kind of at the same time, and that from what I could see, it kind of increased folks' enjoyment of the game. And overall, from a season wide standpoint, we exceeded our team goals in terms of growth. We hit a record high retention rate. Really, we had a lot of teams coming on for second plays and participating, and we're seeing an awful lot of off-season events alive and kicking. So I think overall we had a good championship. I think overall we had a pretty good season.
That's great.
Not that everything
I
was
think
perfect, of course. We learned a lot, but we learned about some things that didn't work so well. But I'll tell you, we had an overall pretty good season. I think that's my sense.
Yeah, I think I certainly agree. I thought the game and the theme were great. So coming off of 2015, was there a conscious push early in the game design process to kind of start with more robot to robot interaction?
I would say more along the lines that we went back to our default. So our default setting is that there's going to be robot to robot interaction. 2015 was something new and different. We tried something different with having the alliances segregated, which did other things for us in terms of allowing the robots to be any size and getting rid of bumpers for the first time in a long time. But I think it was more along the lines of we just kind of went back to our default setting, which is say, we expect to have robot to robot interaction. So we just went with that. And we did see that was one of the things that many teams said, we kind of like to have that back. So of course we took that into account as well.
Absolutely.
Collin, I do have to correct you from somebody in the chat that mentioned, Durfnader mentioned that technically the Cavaliers are the second team that won the World Championship, as Cleveland's team won the FRC World Championship this year. How would we not world recognize that? Come on.
That is a great
First is
point.
a sport, isn't it?
That is a great. They are not professionals, so because I would argue that Ohio State has had plenty of championships for the rest of Ohio. So.
Fair. Frank, I want to talk about a little bit about the building in the game a little bit. So we had a question that asked, what, in your opinion, do you feel was the most, in the concept phase, the most outlandish defense that might have been considered for the past game?
So we did we did come up with a number of defense concepts that did not end up getting used. One was a sort of a table that was on a gimbal that kind of could rotate around, and so it was actually like a round table, which is probably what we would have called it.
I was thinking a rack.
But there were a couple problems with that. One was that it was actually pretty easy to get over the way we designed it. The second, it's too expensive. The gimbal itself was too expensive, and we think teams may have had trouble designing like a home version of that. But the one that we came up with that was just too deadly was it was something similar to the moat, but it had sort of a mesh of bungee cords across it. And so it was the kind of thing that you would drive into and then you would just not drive out of. So it was more like a one-way. It was just so much a defense is more like a fly trap. And
was there a proper name for that?
No, we didn't. We didn't. Never came up with a name. We said, this is crazy because it is just the bungee cords would get all wrapped. Or it was just it would we've been cutting. We would have been cutting robots out of there. It was more like a Venus flytrap more than anything else, and that wouldn't have worked so well. We had some others as well, but they were kind of all variations on a theme.
Did you have a favorite one, either that was used or that was not used?
I liked the Cheval de Free just because I happen to like saying Cheval de Free, and so and the idea that we could. One of the things, of course, we spent a lot of time working with Disney on the game, and one of the things that we talked about was Disney was how far do we kind of push the theme? Do we
Hmm.
try to name everything on the field after these obscure medieval defense teams? And they said, you know what, just go for it. And that was one of the things we just wouldn't go for it. And we knew that teams wouldn't call it the Cheval. Some would
I
call it
say I
the
don't think anybody called
CDF,
it
some would
that.
call it the CDF or whatever, but I just thought that was fun that we had these obscure names for these devices, and everybody's vocabulary grew a little bit, watching our game.
So you brought up Disney. Can you kind of talk about how that partnership started and kind of the role that they played throughout the game development process?
Sure. Greg Hale, who's a vice president at Disney, has been part of our game design process for many years. And we got to a point in 2015 where we said, we need kind of a fresh start, a fresh set of eyes. And we were able to arrange to travel out to Walt Disney Imagineering, where they spent a day and a half with us and took us through what they call, like, well, I don't know if they call it this, but it's a carousel brainstorming situation where you have different sort of stations and you rotate around this big room in groups and you talk about sort of the same each station is focused on a problem or a challenge, and each group kind of covers that topic, at that particular location. And they had all kinds of folks there. They had game designers from Disney, video game designers from Disney, and folks that do the props. Talked to one guy that actually designs the costume suits, that the characters walk around the park. So this whole uh, um, uh, group of varied disciplines in Disney, and one of those stations was talking about it wasn't all about the game for 2016. We were talking about some other things as well, kind of strategic growth things and things we could do to get first some more attention. But one of the stations talked about the game concept itself. And one of the Disney folks, who I think actually was, if I remember correctly, is actually one of the game designers, the video game designers for Disney, used at some point used the phrase tower defender. And as soon as he said that, I it was just something that I kind of grabbed onto and said, because tower defender right there, you have an entire story and you can understand what is going on there just with those two words. And so and someone else he must have said that same thing to someone else, because when we got back, me, had submitted a game concept around Tower Defender, and then one of our engineers, Derek Foster, who's our mechanical engineering manager, also submitted a Tower Defender game concept. His was better, and eventually, I mean, there was this whole process that we went through, so it wasn't like an automatic slam dunk that everybody said, "Oh, Tower Defender, this is the greatest thing ever."
Frank said
No,
it was
everything
better,
else
so that's what they did.
we actually had 25 or 24 concepts or something that we started with, whittled our way down, and like I said, it wasn't like this Tower Defender Stronghold concept was a slam dunk by any means. We went through a lot of phases, and it was kind of on the edge for a while, but at the end, it came out on top.
Very cool. So moving on, there was an interesting question. This is kind of more of a somebody just wanted to ask because they like interesting things like this. But how many defense securing pins did FRC go through this season? And do you have any other kind of just weird, quirky facts about like materials being used up during the season? Obviously, other than the CDF, I'm guessing.
I don't know what the counts were, but for sure there were thousands that we went through, and at one point we actually had to kind of increase our orders. We were going through so many. We were FedExing them out to the events and so forth. One of the things we mentioned in the blog, well, I guess a few months ago now, was that we actually bought 3 ocean-going containers worth of boulders from Sweden. So and that was a pretty big number that we had to have kind of shipped over here.
So
Sweden or Denmark? Sweden? I think it was Sweden. I'm not sure.
Gopher.
Some
That sounds
European.
Swedish.
Yeah, I would go with Sweden.
So for the last couple of years, I think it started in 2012. The manual has stated that point value changes for certain things at the championship are a possibility. I'll be honest that I never thought that it was a possibility, that it was actually a real possibility until this year. I thought because you're not changing how much things are worth, you're changing, the value of the tower.
Yeah.
Can you kind of walk through the decision to change the tower strength and what all factors weighed into that, when you look at potentially changing a big part of the game right before championship, the biggest stage?
Sure. Initially, one of the reasons that we put that rule in place is, as you know, Colin, having been part of the game design process before, you really don't know how easy or how hard certain tasks are going to be for the teams. And so we didn't know if we had started out with the right number of boulders being required to weaken the tower. We just didn't know that. We had done some time trials and some estimates and some discussion, and we came up with this initial number that we thought was pretty good. So we wanted to give ourselves some flexibility to change that. When we finally got to championship, what we did was we actually analyzed the data. We looked at sort of the district championships and saying, okay, how often was the tower weakened? And our feeling was that we wanted the tower weakenings to be something that was exciting, and I guess I would use the term uncommon, not necessarily rare, but something that you wouldn't just say, oh, they weaken the tower again. Everybody weakens the tower every single match.
Sure.
We want it to be something that's an accomplishment. And the other thing that we did, or that I did, and and we had talked about it, was we kind of looked at it. One of the lenses that we use when we look at our games is, we look at the leveling up. And so as you get experience in a video game, you at least one event that they've gone to, the teams have really leveled up. So we're ready to make their game plan.
Sure.
Hold up one second here. Nick, are we back on or did we cut out? Okay. All right, we'll keep rolling. So sorry about that, chat room.
So was there, because I think the possibility was in there in the manual to change those for the district championships as well.
That's right.
Correct. Was there any talk about doing that? Maybe just to try it out, see how it played?
There was, and this is the reason why we did not do that. We didn't do that because we thought it would be unfair to give the district teams who are going to their district championships experience with the new requirement in terms of tower weakening, while the regional teams would not have that experience.
Okay.
It was something that we talked a lot about, but we thought that the disparity between the district teams and the regional teams might be too great. Now, would have made a lot of practical difference, maybe not, but certainly the district teams going to their championship would have had an experience with this higher tower strength that the regional teams did not. And we didn't know if it was we didn't think it was gonna significantly change strategies and that kind of thing, but you never know what's gonna kind of pop out of that.
Right.
Apparently I put myself on mute. So apparently I get the, happens to everybody. Apparently I get the funny questions to ask you, right? So question, how many ad hoc dodgeball tournaments were started at FRC HQ this year due to the Boulder game piece?
I would say that there were maybe a few of those, but I'll tell you that I sometimes, I do sometimes feel like I'm the dad walking into the room sometimes, and I shouldn't feel like that, but sometimes I walk in and like, I'm not sure what happens before I open the door. So there were probably more than I saw, I guess is the way to put it.
Do you guys have like Nerf gun fights or anything like that, or anything fun at
We don't have
HQ?
Nerf guns that I am aware of.
No comment.
Yeah, I say Colin used to work.
Colin probably knows more about it than
I
I do.
will say that. So I continue to love the 2012 game Rebound Rumble, and I think that a big part of that had to do with the fact that I had a basketball court set up outside my office basically for 8 months, where I could just go out and take a couple of shots and then head upstairs for a meeting or head to the restroom or wherever I was going. I would walk a certain way so that I had to take just shoot a couple baskets.
Nice.
So Frank, one last question about 2016 before we kind of move on to 2017. Are things really as dope as Will.i.am says they are?
I would say they were probably even more dope than Will.i.am
So
says.
if you had to put that into a sentence, what would you say?
But I wouldn't attempt to put it into a sentence because I'll tell you one of the things that we had talked about after after Will I am used the colorful language there is everyone was in agreement that it was like a genuine expression of his love for First. I think there was no one that disagreed. He wasn't acting. He wasn't attempting to do this to gather attention. I mean, guy's already did the center stage, of course, at First. He's going to get all the attention that he wants. So everyone was absolutely in agreement that he was. It was a genuine expression of his feelings for First. Well, this is great. I mean, it's not something that First could put on a T-shirt or use in any of our program books or anything like that.
Others might.
But I think I've seen some of those. But but I mean that's where it was. I mean it was a legitimate expression of his love for First, and everyone recognized that. He could have said it a little differently, probably. I don't know.
Well, I showed it to everyone that I worked with on Monday, so it certainly helped spread the recognition of First a little bit.
All right, so let's talk 2017 and beyond. First question, Collin, as a former GDC member, you might be able to step in and answer this too. But could both of you talk about just kind of give a general synopsis of the process that goes into designing an FRC game? Like, let's take this year. I'm sure in the off season you really don't get off during the off season. So what goes into the making the 2017 game? What's the process that goes into it?
So what we do, and the process has changed a bit since Collin was on board. What we've done the last 2 years, actually 2016 and 2017, is we start with a large number of concepts. That part hasn't changed. We start with a large number of concepts that we come up with, and we ask various folks. And I think we were talking, before the show started, that there's not really, and I've said this before, and I'll say it again, there's not really a game design committee per se, like where you could say this person is on the game design committee, this person is not on the game design committee. It's not binary like this. In fact, I've really moved more towards using the term game design project because that's really what it comes down to. So there are dozens of people that help out with this, and we will get some folks that contribute. A lot of people that contribute concepts, and we go through the first step is sort of a conference call where it's a 2-hour conference call, and we have these game design concepts and we whittle them down, and the point is we want to get to say 4 concepts, something along those lines, and then a week or 2 after that we'll have an on-site game design on-site. Well, we'll bring in a number of folks, and we have volunteers there as well, and maybe some sponsor representatives and so forth, and we kind of whittle those 4 concepts down to a single concept. And then we go, and once we have that single concept that we're all feeling pretty good with, we go over and actually, the way it's worked in the past anyway, is we present it to Dean and make sure that he at least isn't telling us, no, you guys are crazy, what are you talking about? And then from there, it's more like a sort of any typical new product development process where you have a number of things that are going on at the same time. You're trying to work the mechanical, and you're trying to get the electrical right, and you're trying to work the rules. You're trying to look at especially the 2016 and 2017, again, looking at the marketing picture, because we are trying to go with, in 2017 as we did in 2016, a more extensive season. The season isn't going to start just at kickoff and go through championship. We want to expand the boundaries of the season. So you are likely to see a teaser for 2017 as you did for 2016.
I thought you were just about to reveal that you're getting rid of bag and tag there for a second.
That's what I thought too. That's what I thought too. We are expanding the season.
That's exactly what I heard.
In September.
Not in that way yet, but it is something that we have talked about internally, but something of such a significant, really, when you think about where much of the value in First comes from, it's not just about the game. It's about the entire culture that surrounds the game and supports the game and is involved with the folks and the entire community. Like this what we're on now, fun, is an element of First culture that I think is fantastic, and I love those kind of things. And so when we're looking at the potentially changing something that is really embedded in the culture, like the stop build day, it's something that we move very, very carefully on. I can't say it's always going to be there. I can't say it's going away. But it is something that anytime we look at something that's a major cultural change, we move very carefully, because that culture really is kind of the heart of FIRST. Just like in any other major sport. I mean, um, if you were to imagine imagine that there was no do a little thought experiment. Imagine that there was no football in the United States at all, and then someone was to come along and say, "Hey, I've got a great idea for a new sport. You're going to need to get 22 guys on the field. You're going to need this massive field. You're going to need, however many it is, 6 or 7 referees, umpires, whatever they call them. They're going to play for 2.5 or 3 hours, and the ball is only going to be actually in play for about 11 minutes." People would look at that person and say, "What are you doing?" No one
You
would
might
ever
hear a game pitch like that in a
go
little
to
bit.
see that game. But the reason that they do is because it's not just about the game. You have this entire culture. It's something you grew up with. You're doing the Super Bowl is not just about watching the game. It's about watching the commercials and having your friends over. And it's this entire cultural experience that if you were to attempt to divorce that from the sport itself, it just wouldn't make sense, and people wouldn't, I think, really be too interested in it. I'm not sure how we got on that topic. I'm sorry, I wandered off a little bit there.
No, man, you're good.
That's all right. It's an interesting point. So, so you brought up kind of the theme and how once you get into it, it's kind of like a product development where you got mechanical team doing one thing, electrical team doing another. They have to work together. It's all got to come together into one finished product at the end, along with the rules and the marketing, everything else that goes around it. As you come up with game elements like this year's field, where you've got moving components and lights that indicate things that can be used for strategy, kind of what steps did you take in 2017, and will you continue to take, moving forward, to kind of make sure that the field is as competition ready when it goes out the door as you can?
We're making a couple in 2016. We didn't do as good a job. I felt like I didn't do as good a job at that as I would have liked to. And there were a couple things that played into. First, we had never had a field this complex before, that, as far as I know. So we were really breaking new ground in terms of field complexity and the number of things that we had to build to get fields out the door. I think we built this year 30 fields or 31 fields, something along those lines. And we went later than we wanted to in the design process. The field was more complex and took more just effort to kind of get it where we wanted to than we had expected. And we were still trying to do everything ourselves in terms of building the field itself. So literally at the end of the before kickoff, we were sending out calls. We had temps coming in. We had people from finance, people from procurement. Don Bosey was down helping build fields. I mean, this is what it was like. I mean, it was like this constant all hands on deck situation where we're trying to get out and fabricate all these components and get them out. So we're looking at we are doing things differently for 2017. First, we've actually accelerated the process itself. So we're actually about 4 to 6 weeks ahead of where we were last year. As a matter of fact, just last Thursday, we got the okay from Dean on the 2017 game, which we did not have until about a month from now, 5 weeks. Which is going to be fantastic.
Excellent.
And the other thing that we're exploring is well, Collin, of course, you know what our building is like, and I think probably many of the folks that are listening know what our building is like, but it's not made for manufacturing. We've got a couple of docks. There's like the docks are the receiving area is very small. You have to go up and down these old ancient freight elevators and so forth. It's not made for manufacturing. And plus, it's not something that we do. We don't have we can tell when something's received, but we don't have like inventory locations and stocking programs and all this kind of thing. So one of the things that we're going to be exploring anyway, now whether it comes off or not, 2017, I don't know, but one of the things we're exploring is outsourcing the kitting of the field in the same way we have outsourced the kitting of the kit of parts. And so go to folks that do this kind of thing. Now, it would be a really big kit. I mean, it's the size of a tractor trailer is this kit, but it's got things that have to go in certain places in a certain way, and you have to track all these various components coming in and out, and we don't have the expertise on that, nor do we want to become experts in that, because it's not where we want to have kind of that knowledge base. It's not something that we do or that we want to do. So we are looking at the possibility anyway of outsourcing more of this kind of thing. And having the time to do those gives us the time that we need to do the testing and so forth. And like we talked about, they talked about before, the portcullis, we had to pull that from off-season events because there were cases in which people were getting hurt, and obviously we don't want that. And that's something that we want to make sure that we're fully testing and think of every possible way that someone could possibly hurt themselves on these. And of course, being a dynamic element, that was something fairly new for us, at least
Sure.
to that level of dynamicism.
So let's talk about a couple things moving on to in the future. One question asked, the person who submitted the question mentioned that it seems like autonomous mode hasn't changed all that significantly since its inception in 2003. And whether you agree with that or not, the question being, are we likely to see a more complex autonomous mode in the future, or at least in the near future?
I would say probably not more complex. When we think of kind of autonomous mode, one of the things that we recognize is that autonomous is very difficult for many times difficult for rookies and teams that are just starting off, and we want to make sure that they have the most positive experience they could possibly have. So we typically have some very simple autonomous task and where you can get a point is driving forward. And still, you go to events and you see robots that are not driving, kind of just driving forward and getting that extra point. We think of the challenge with autonomous scaling more with there are several tasks that you can do in autonomous typically, and usually there's at least one or two super tasks that only really the very best teams can do. For 2017, it was a two-ball. It was a two-ball autonomous, and you saw a handful of teams that could do it, and even them doing it consistently. Some teams were able to do it consistently, but it was a really high bar for them. So what we think of, not in terms of, for example, lengthening autonomous mode, because what would happen if you went to 20 seconds or 25 seconds instead of some matches during which you would have 15 seconds of no robots moving,
Yeah,
you would then have
20
30
seconds.
seconds of no robots moving, which doesn't make for a great exciting game. So we think of making sure that there are different layers, levels at which teams can go to autonomous in that shorter time period, like we saw with the two-ball autonomous, where the very best teams still have things that they can do. I mean, if they wanted to really go to the limit on autonomous, they could certainly do that, and it's a reach objective, but still very simple to get just a point or two, and not really lengthening the autonomous mode. I'm not saying, though, of course, that autonomous mode is always going to be 15 seconds or whatever along those lines. It's just things that we think about.
Sure. Frank, another question that we got concerns interdistrict play and how it affects a team's qualification points. Here in Indiana, I think we saw 3 teams go out of state week 1 to compete, kind of use that week as a practice. Can you kind of give us an update, I guess, just on where things stand with interdistrict points and allowing out of district plays to count, things like that?
Sure. So just as we did last year, we have a task force going that is looking at the potential of allowing points from outside of the district, interdistrict play, but allowing those points so a team can earn points out there. It's made up of, and there's 1 or 2 staffers on it, but it's mostly district leadership. We try to get in one representative from each district. And honestly, this is being driven by the districts. So it would add complexity to FIRST in order to go in this direction, because we have to figure out how you do, and it's all software programming stuff, and we'd be able to figure it out. It is something that we'd have to work on and invest resources in to get done, but just to make sure the proper points are attributed and how we would show that and all that kind of thing. So there is an investment on our standpoint, but what it comes down to is we're not pushing it, we're not fighting it. It's something that if the districts come together, all the districts come together and say, or the majority of the districts, or a strong number of the districts come together and say, yes, FIRST headquarters, this is something that we want. It is something that we would work to support. I will tell you, we haven't seen that yet. As a matter of fact, last year I was kind of surprised when the task force came back and said, we're not, the districts really, district management now, teams in the districts may have a different opinion, and I respect that, but district management said, no, it's not something that we're interested in. And like I said, I was kind of surprised by that because I kind of hearing from the community a little bit, and certainly some folks that are key folks in the district saying this is something that we would really like to have. So it is something that if the demand is there and the districts say, yes, we want to have that, we would work to support it. But it's really at sort of at the district level. So for
Sure.
folks that feel very strongly about this, the thing to do is contact your district management and say, I feel really strongly about this, so that they can make sure, because they're really the representatives for you on this task force.
I guess in terms of time frame on that task force, is this something that you know, and not holding you to a specific date here, but you know, are you looking a month, 2 months, kind of to give an update on where things are? Because I can imagine it would affect teams planning, you know, when it comes to where they're going to go.
Sure, and it would be something that we would want to have announced and in place before teams start to make their decisions there. But in terms of timing, I don't know. It's more like a kind of like a summer project kind of
Okay.
thing. So you know, if we're doing it for 2017, and it might be something where they look at it and they say we want to do it, but maybe not this year. You know, I don't know what that's going to come back with. And basically, the task force is making a recommendation, and then you know we take that recommendation and we go to senior management and say, you know, this is kind of what the task force has recommended, and do we want to do this or not?
Sure.
Let's move on to a little bit bigger than districts, and we'll start getting into. We have a couple more questions, and we're going to go into the Pitch Frank Your FRC game. So if you're interested in participating in that, go ahead. If you're watching live on Twitch, please PM the Fun Tyler screen name with your Skype name so I can give you a call. But Frank, with 2 champs in 2017 coming up, we know that there's going to be 400 teams, FRC teams at each champs.
That's
What
right.
about divisions? Are you guys ready to release anything on that? Can you talk about how divisions are going to break down at championships?
We're not ready to release anything on that. I'll tell you that I am not a fan of 100 team divisions. Because I think it's too much. I think I would like to see something smaller than that, but we're not ready to release information about that yet. But as soon as we're ready, we'll let you know.
Let me ask. I mean, are you still looking at keeping the 10 qualification matches? Is that a goal that you're looking at moving
Yes,
forward?
that's absolutely a goal. We do not want to go below that. That's absolutely a goal.
So final question on 2017. You told us, you know, you already told us about the that we were likely to see a theme. We're doing away with bag and tag.
I
What
did not
else?
say we were doing away with bag and tag.
Oh, I
but nice
must,
try.
wishful thinking.
I did not say
So
that.
what else? What else can you tell us about the 2017 game? You know, it's only June, but to get people hyped up a little bit.
So let me back up a little bit to bag and tag. Something I did want to talk about. We had the
Sure.
RDs and the senior mentors up here last week for the big conference that they had, and I actually asked the RDs, and we had a kind of a panel discussion like we do, and all the RDs and the senior mentors are in the room, and I asked the question how many of them would be in favor of essentially eliminating stop build day, so that you just worked until, like we're talking about, you work until competition or whatever. You set your own schedule and you show up at competition with a finished robot. And I would say 90% of the people in the room were opposed to eliminating stop build day.
Wow.
And that was the kind of the RDs and the senior mentors, which I thought it would be at least more of a split or more of a discussion, because what kind of the sense I'm getting from the community, at least the part of the community that's kind of vocal, is that they seem to be something that they're kind of maybe interested in. But I wasn't expecting that result. But
Yeah.
it was. So, Collin, I'm sorry. What was your?
Yeah, I was going to say you definitely sidestepped that one. Just anything else that you can tell us here in June to get us excited about the 2017 game?
Oh, sure. So we're working with Disney again. We're excited to work with those folks. Now, the teaser, we are planning to do a teaser trailer. This one will not be done by Disney. We kind of stretched them a little too thin last year, and they came to us and said, first, we love you, but, you know, there's kind of a lot of, and they do so much for us. We're just so grateful for all the support that they give us. And they've been down, they were part of our game design weekend, and they've been just fantastic supporters, especially with all that they have going on with launching that new location in Shanghai. So we are working with Disney again. It will not be a Disney teaser, but we are going to be having a teaser. I think that was one of the other kind of successes I think that we saw in 2016, is that it did seemed to, in my mind anyway, I perceived that it enhanced the season, and that was actually some of the feedback that we got from the teams, is that they thought it was, when we did the survey, they thought it was really neat. And I'll tell you, when I walked into the kickoff in Manchester that morning, I mean, it was, I have never seen a kickoff so pumped. It was just, the atmosphere was electric. It was just unbelievably exciting, and I hope we can duplicate that again. Other than, we're looking at some exciting things. You can I think expect that we're going to see the concept of having a good theme and along with a good game kind of at the same time seem to work pretty well. So you're likely to for us to see us try that again. And like I said, Dean just last Thursday gave the okay to the 2017 game concept. So we're off and running as hard as we can.
Very cool.
All right. Well, Frank, thanks for answering those questions from our community. And community, thank you so much for submitting those questions as well. We are running a little bit long, so do want to get to a couple of the other areas we have, including the calling in. So once again, if you are interested in pitching your game to Frank, we'll explain how that works in a little bit, but go ahead and make sure you PM Fun Tyler with your Skype name. So coming up in a little bit, we have that. Frank's got a couple reveals for us as well, too. But let's take a break to thank our sponsor for Spotlight, the wonderful company over at AndyMark. And usually when we do an AndyMark, when we talk about them, we talk about a product that will help your robot succeed. But today, I wanted to talk about a new thing that AndyMark has based on the speech that Andy himself at the Indiana State Championship talked about in regards to inclusion and equality for women in FIRST and STEM fields. So if you didn't get your hands on these at championships this past year, AndyMark has made available the Men of Quality t-shirt stating, men of quality do not fear equality. This shirt can help raise awareness of not only engaging women in STEM, but creating a culture where equality is the norm. Also, if you're attending the Indiana Robotics Invitational in July, you can get the free ship to pit option, and an AndyMark minion will deliver whatever you order straight to your pit. And even better, even if your team is not attending, if you can make it out there to IRI, or if you're volunteering out there and you want to pick up something from your team, you can ship the pit and pick it up right up at the AndyMark table. So go to andymark.com and check out the Men of Quality t-shirt and stock up on what you need to make your team successful. A huge thanks to AndyMark once again for all their support for First Updates Now shows like Spotlight. And speaking of support, we do have an AndyMark t-shirt to give away. I'm not sure if it's going to be that one or not, because that one literally just got posted a couple days ago. But we are going to do try to do a last caller standing. It's always interesting to try to get calls from the audience. But what's going to happen, video is optional, by the way. If you have it, great. If not, we'll roll with it. But you're going to get about 60 seconds, and we're not going to hold you too hard to it. But if you run on too long, I'll cut you off, to pitch what you would like to see as an FRC game. After each of our callers, hopefully we're going to get out 3 or 4, we're hoping. We'll ask Frank to comment on which one of the 2 callers he wants to advance until we declare a winner. So, chat realm, let's see if we can get a couple people in here once again. If you still like to get in, I think I have one more spot if you're interested in talking. So, PM Fun Tyler with your Skype name. So, let's get somebody in here. We have Griffin, who's interested in pitching his game. He was PM me earlier today. He's very excited about it. Let's see if we can get him on the show. It's a very interesting overlay we have. Big money. We need like that Jeopardy music playing in the background.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, we'll get back to Griffin here and see if he picks up. We have Sam from, actually the host of the F4 show, was on our show earlier before, so I got to find him here. I know Sam will pick up. He's a pro. There we go. Hey, Sam.
Hello.
So, Sam, you're host of the F4 show. What team are you on as well?
2869.
Awesome. All right, man, we're going to give you just a minute or two to talk to Frank. Say hi to Frank.
Hi, Frank.
Hey, Sam, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Right.
Fantastic.
Sam, what do you got for us?
All right, so we have a Polar Plunder, okay? The field will once again be regolith, okay? So sorry, for people with PTSD from that game. The field will be raised 2 feet above the ground with a 5-foot gap separating the two alliances. There will be a blue ball pit known as the Ocean in the middle and have random bits of regolith floating on top. There will also be a stuffed polar bear on each side of the field. There will be 50 points for getting your polar bear on the opposing alliance side, but the alliance can bring back the polar bears. Additional points can be gained by removing the regolith pieces from the center of the field and putting them in respective containers. So that's the game.
Okay.
Interesting.
All right.
Interesting. I think it would be.
Thanks,
It
Sam.
sounds like something that I can see as being very visual. I like the blue ball pit, kind of obviously representing water there. A little concerned about the regolith. That was kind of a problem for us before, but okay, interesting. Visual. I think the audience will get the idea that regolith is supposed to be ice this time instead of the lunar service. But okay.
Alrighty. All right, our next caller, we got Griffin back on. He says he's ready, so let's give him a call to come in. We can just split Frank in half, Nick. That's fine. You can just leave it like that.
Yeah. Please split me in half.
It's your better half.
Regolith comes up and Frank wants to be split in half.
Right?
I was ready to walk out when he
Oh,
said,
caller, are you there? Hello. Maybe.
"Play if you don't answer."
Oh, man. Make sure it's working. Griffin, you there, buddy? Say something. To me.
All right, hey.
There we go.
Yeah. All right, just having a few problems there. Okay.
Go ahead, man.
Yeah. All right, so I'll just run through my idea quickly. I just wrote up a quick pitch, so I'll just read it out. So basically, my game is called Time Troubles. So it's played on a 26 by 54 foot field, which is basically just a default FRC field. And it's played by 2 alliances of 3 robots each, so standard. And the objective of the game, like most games, is to score more points than the opposing alliance. So the game is 1 minute and 45 seconds long, and it's composed of a 15-second autonomous period and a 1 minute and 30-second regular teleoperated period, which is divided into 3 equal 30-second time zones. And in these time zones, multipliers are added to the scoring value of certain game pieces. So there's 3 game pieces in the game. So there's footballs, balls, and frisbees. And additionally, at the end of each time zone, there's something called a curved clock suiting the theme of the game, so time troubles, where there's a bar that you can hold onto and you're trying to race to grab onto that bar before your opponents in order to get another bonus on your score. There's a field diagram I'll just put in the chat just in case anyone's interested, and there's a bit more detail about the game, but that's basically a summary of that game.
Okay.
All right, thanks, Griffin. We're going to hang up on you here. Thanks, buddy.
All right.
All right. So a little shorter match. Footballs, balls, and frisbees. A segmented match period. Could be interesting, but I think a little complex. One of the things that we tend to look for is where we can get when we can get there. It doesn't always happen. Is a game that is easy for the audience to understand and follow along. I think that I'm going to have to go with Sam as so interesting effort. I'm going to have to go with Sam though as making it on to the next round.
All right, Sam's going to make it on. Thank you though, Griffin. Anyways, for your try.
Thanks, Griffin.
Yeah, anytime you can throw footballs into a game pitch, that's a good place to start.
Right? We haven't seen those, so.
Hint, hint.
All right, we do have we have Alex from Blue Cheese 1086. Is going to come on and pitch his idea.
Hello?
Hey, Alex,
Hello,
you there?
Alex.
Hey, can you hear me?
You're live, man. Go ahead.
Awesome. So for the game I was thinking of, I don't actually have a name for it yet, but pretty much you take the 2008 field where it's like laps, and you keep the same lap system, but you add in trailers. So pretty much you're trying to shoot game elements into which would probably be balls in this case. So probably wouldn't be one for next year since we just did a ball game, but you chase around and you try to get it into your opponent's trailer as they're doing laps too. So it's kind of like a Mario Kart type feel where you're trying to shoot at the opponent, but it would be quick. Defense wouldn't be as effective since you still have to do the only go in one direction. So defense would more come of just trying to make sure you're in the right position and while preventing other people from getting behind you. So, am I still connected or?
Yeah,
we can hear
got
you.
man.
Okay.
Thanks, Alex.
Okay, so sort of a kind of a chase game. Um, uh, some similarities to Lunacy there, where the goal is being towed behind one of the opposing robots. Interesting, has some interesting elements there. You know, anytime you have like some type of race game, it is something that the audience can have some clue as to what's going on, if there are some points associated with the laps. The only thing I would say is a little too much like Lunacy in terms of towing your target with you. And I think one of the downsides in Lunacy is that we did see just kind of like a lot of dumping and not necessarily kind of all that interesting to watch. So I think Sam is still standing here.
Yeah,
right.
my thought was, can I talk?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, my thought was that if you have the laps, it would prevent you from just pinning someone in a corner because you're still trying to get those laps. So just pinning someone in a corner hurts you as much as it hurts them.
Oh, I
So
got
I think comes to dump it. Yeah.
All right. Thanks,
I hear
Alex.
ya.
Appreciate it.
All right.
All right.
I actually thought I hung up on him already. I like to be transparent with things. All right, so Sam is still in the running. Is that right, Frank?
I think Sam is still in the running here.
All right. We're gonna do two more, and then I will declare a winner here. So we got Larry from, I believe, 747. Let's see. Is that 747, Larry?
Yep. Hi.
Awesome. Hey, man.
Hi, Larry.
Hi. Let's hope it doesn't echo too bad here. All right. So can you hear me okay?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. Am I on?
You're on.
Howdy. All right. Okay. Yeah. Everybody knows me as Larry. I'm the scorekeeper in Indiana. All of you I've met at one point or another. So.
Yeah, man. Give us your pitch.
Okay. So here's my idea. It's a game called Microphone Miracle. 2-3 team alliances before. Same field perimeter as before. Same gray carpet as before. Basically, you'll have 2-3 team alliances. Okay, I already went through that. Okay. Now, here's what's going to make it interesting, is that this field is going to be divided in half of the barrier, just like we had in 2015. However, the teams are going to be split up, so you have 2 members of one alliance and 1 member of the other alliance on each side. This will also be true for driver stations as well, so they will be on 2 opposite ends of the field. The way that they will communicate with each other is over walkie-talkie, hence the name Microphone Miracle. Cool. And the objective will be to get game balls from one end of the field to the other, and the transfer will have to go over that barrier. This barrier will be as high as the current field divider, well, perimeter, so robots can't cross it.
All right. Thank you so much. Frank, what do you got for him?
Okay, so interesting split with a kind of a 2-in-1 situation. That's something we haven't. I don't know if we've ever tried that. Maybe we've tried that kind of with the driver station. It sounds like you kind of have built-in defense, though not every team can kind of defend against every other team. Not sure kind of on the scoring. It sounds like the balls kind of could go wherever the most balls end up. It sounds like I'm not sure how interesting that would be for audience members. You know what? I mean, nice try. Love the split idea. I think I'm still going to go with Sam as standing.
Awesome. All right. Well, Sam's got to make it through one more, and then we're going to move on here. So our last one here, we'll try. Hopefully, it'll pick up. Is Matt from 5740. Seeing if we can dethrone Sam. See if we can add him on here. Matt, you got to make sure you accept my friend request, please. I think actually I can add you on otherwise. Nope. Give me about 10 seconds. Always we're going to declare Sam a winner because we're already running behind. All right, man. We got to move on, man. I'm sorry. So Sam, congratulations. I know he said he had to hop off for a minute, but so I'll PM him with that. You'll get the Andy Mark t-shirt. And guys, hopefully you did enjoy this. We'll look at doing more fun stuff. And Frank, thanks for being our judge today.
Sure, no problem.
So now we know what next year's game is. It's already done. Perfect.
It's Regolith and polar bears.
Regolith and polar bears.
Alrighty.
So Frank, before we go, we know you had a couple of announcements, something to unveil to the FRC community.
Sure,
So
just
go ahead.
Just a couple things quick. I know we don't have a lot of time. You know,
You're good.
we actually built a an Easter egg into the 2016 game that I don't think anyone has picked up on yet. And Easter eggs that no one picks up on are, yeah, not Easter eggs at all. What fun is that? And so, if you could pull up that first slide, let me talk about this before you put that slide up. So, we did this history patch concept where each team you went to an event, and depending on what week you did, you got a history patch. And the history patch differed by they had numbers on them, and each one was a different color. Now, can we pull up that slide now?
The PowerPoint one, right? There we go.
That's the one. So if you look at the colors and the weeks that these are associated with, is that looking familiar at all to anyone?
Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, violet.
Except brown.
Yeah, I don't know where.
Okay, so this is the resistor color code.
Oh.
Not an engineer, but sure, yeah.
Mechanical engineer.
Well, we thought it was
Search engine marketing.
Anyway, back in the day, when you were assembling your little kits or whatever from Radio Shack, you had to know what value the resistors were, and there was a color code on it that, you know, brown was 1, red was 2, orange was 3, and you guys don't like
There
that?
were some people. There was 3 people in chat who got it. So.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah.
good. Okay, so maybe that wasn't so exciting, but you know, we tried to build these little things into the season. Tyler, you're saying I should have just kept that to myself.
My apologies to Kevin and Matt that I missed that.
Okay. All right. Oh, so there you go. There's the resistor color.
Yeah, somebody said you were missing black.
So exciting. Oh, yes. Okay. Anyway.
And the true nerd and Frank comes out finally.
Give it a try. The other thing that I want to talk to, this is more serious. Folks often ask us, well, what's the strategic direction of FIRST? And yeah, you've got your mission statement and your core values and so forth, but kind of what's the overall strategy? We're Don Bosey, who's been our president now, I think he's going on 3 years, maybe just crossed over 3 years. Working with some of the other senior management for us, came up with these 5 strategic pillars of kind of the way that we want to do business and move forward. So can you put up those pillars there? So these are the 5 elements that we are continuing to work on. Really, the first one, expand participation, is sort of the overarching goal. And the other 4 are kind of the way that we want to do that expand participation. So focusing on, you can see right there, increasing diversity, very important to us, being able to scale well while still doing it in a quality way, want to ensure sustainability, making sure that we're financially well supported, and making sure that our alumni are happy and on board and helping us out and volunteering in any other way that they would like to. And finally, trying to get FIRST the broader kind of recognition that it deserves. So Don, that's just a little quick snapshot. Don is actually going to be doing an FRC guest blog probably in July sometime to actually talk about this. But when folks say, well, what is FIRST kind of trying to do? What is your sort of strategy to move forward in the future? These are the 5 elements of our strategy. I don't know that this has ever been, I know that the RDs have seen that before, and obviously the FIRST staffers have seen it before, but I don't know that we've ever kind of talked about it publicly. And I talked to Don. I said, it's something the community might want to know as well, and he was in agreement of that, and so we're going to be getting that out there.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Frank,
thank
for
you
sharing that. Yeah.
I think to me, it all comes down to the one that was on the bottom. That almost seems like the foundation. I don't know, Nick, if you can throw it back up. The achieve broad recognition. I feel like the more people that know about FIRST, the more the other 4 can happen naturally and organically. So
it makes it certainly helps.
all the ways to keep pushing, the FIRST name out and really getting things out. I know the Team 27 National Advisory Conference is happening now. That's been all over their social media and some of the other, FIRST social media. To me, that's where it all starts.
All
Well,
right.
Frank, thank you very much for coming on. We appreciate you talking
Thank
about
you.
Stronghold a little bit, the future of FRC. We hope you had a bit of fun as well.
I
Sorry we
did.
did.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Sorry, Tyler and I do not know our resistor.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to leave us with tonight? Last second game hit.
We're looking forward to another great season. It's going to be really interesting and challenging and fun, though. With we're going to 2 championships, we're going to get 200 more teams to experience the championship this year, and we're really looking forward to that. And we're working hard to make it all happen.
Fantastic.
So, Collin, yourself, IRI is coming up next month as well, too. Any updates for you with IRI?
No, we're still chugging along with it, planning as usual. Probably within the next week or so, we'll have some more announcements about IRI Live. So we're doing that again, firming up the details of what exactly it'll look like. We took community feedback after last year. Just looking forward to having probably 70 amazing FRC teams in a gymnasium. It's probably going to be about 100 degrees outside. So,
is there any word on the AC from that school versus the other one?
I think it's the same school district, so I would assume that whatever we had at Lawrence North will be at least as good at Lawrence Central. I think the gym is a little newer, so hopefully that will help as well.
Awesome. And huge big thank you to Nick Olson, working behind the scenes, giving us cues and directions, posting everything up for us, for producing the show. Thank you once again, Nick. And Chat Nation, thank you for checking out the show. And all that we ask is, if you like the show, tell others about it on Facebook, Twitter, or anywhere else you want. Don't forget to subscribe to our Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter channels under First Updates Now, and you can find us on iTunes or your favorite podcast program. This will help us grow the show even more and make First even more loud. If you'd like to leave us feedback, go ahead and do that at firstupdatesnow@gmail.com. We're delighted to hear your ideas and how we can grow our shows. We will have another show next month. We'll be doing a pre-IRI show. So right now, plan on July 12th. Unless you hear otherwise, we'll be talking about what's coming up for IRI, some of the news that's going on first, and the happenings happening there. Great sentence. On behalf of myself, Collin, Nick, I'd like to thank all of you for tuning in today. Frank Merritt, thank you so much as the director of FRC of sharing yourselves with us once again.
Love coming on board.
Yeah, man. And all the moderators in chat for providing us as well, too. Thank you for that. So hope you had a great time, everybody. We'll see you next month in July for a pre-IRI show. Good night, everybody.
See ya. Thanks, Frank.
Thanks. Thank you.
This has been a First Updates Now production. Visit us at firstupdatesnow.com or find us under First Updates Now on Facebook or Twitter.